Hello again everyone, and welcome to the back garden yard. In today's video we are going to do the necessary pruning on our persimmon trees and on our pear tree. And you have to prune them every year or you're going to end up with a big mess and you won't be able to reach the fruit, and the tree is just not going to be as healthy as if you'll prune them every year. I like to wait till the end of January after we've usually had our coldest weather, and that way I get out there and I don't have to worry about the limbs dying that I had just trimmed off. So anyway, you can see the trees over here in the distance. They're the ones with the little limbs going straight up, and what we're going to do is we're going to go over there, and first we're going to look and talk about what we want to prune. Then I'll set the camera up and do some pruning, and we will then look at them after they're pruned. So let's go ahead and do it. You see all these limbs going straight up. Well, we know we don't want straight up limbs. One, they just keep going straight up, and two is they usually won't flower and fruit, and three is you can't reach them. So I've got my ladder out here to see about how much I'm going to need to get to how tall I will need to have it so I can get up and reach them. And also you can see in previous years where I have pruned to. Here's the spot where I pruned it, and then over there is the spot where I pruned it, and so I will keep cutting things back near where I have done it before. Now, the other thing you want to see is where limbs are crisscrossing. We don't want crisscrossing limbs at all. So we're going to take those off because they're crisscrossing. Then the third thing you want to look for is limbs that are going towards the center of the tree and they're going to be blocked by the other shade. And so we want to take off the ones that are going toward the center of the tree. We also want to take the ones that have come out and gotten too long, because if all this makes fruit, it's going to pull this limb down and then it's going to break this limb. So we don't want this limb this long. So we got three things we're going to do. We're going to take off those tall leaders first. Then we're going to take the ones that are crisscrossing and get those. Here's another crisscross limb here. We're going to get those completely off, and then we're going to shorten the limbs that are going too far out. And on this tree, that's what we're going to do. It won't take that long and it's not that hard. Then over here, that was the persimmon tree. This is the pear tree. Now the pear tree has just grown crazy high. That must be almost 15 or 20 feet. That tall leader right there. And so we're going to cut it back down to where it's been cut before. If you can see that, you can see right there where it's been cut before. And we're going to cut it back down to there. The other thing with the pear tree is, you may notice that I actually had to tie up these limbs last year. They got so heavy with fruit that they will also break right here at the trunk. And I've actually had limbs break off of this tree before. So what I want to do is go ahead while it doesn't have pears on it. It's a lot easier than once you get the pears on it, you just don't want to take them off. But all these little places where the end has branched out into all these little branches, we're going to take off all of them except for one. And that way then we're not going to get too much heavy fruit on the end of these branches. One like this that has gone all the way up and is up here real high, we're going to take it back to here, and then we're going to take this one off. We'll take this one here completely off, and it's still got all these buds that will make pears. And so this one's going to take a little bit longer to do because there's so many more nodes on this one that are going to have to be taken off. When you see a pocket like this, you're going to end up wanting to take it off about right here, and then of course that the freeze has hurt that one there anyway. And then this one going straight up we're going to take off, then these are all right here coming out. We'll probably take this off, and then we will take this off, and we will take this off, and we'll leave this coming out. Over here I had to tie this one up, you can see. And so once again I'm going to take this long leader here off, and I'm going to take this one off. And anyway, I think you get the idea. So the first thing you want to do is to take the real tall ones off. The second thing is you want to take any that are crisscrossing off. And then third, you want to take the ones that are too long and have branched out too much, and you want to take off some of that growth. When you do that, the pear tree still got the same root system, and it's going to be able to pump more nutrients into what you've left also. So you're going to end up getting bigger pears, even though you'll get less pears than you would have. But this tree here made about 100 pears last year. So the first thing you want to do is get the right pair of shears or clippers to clip your trees with. Now this one here would work on all the little pieces, but it's so big and unwieldy, the little tips and stuff, it's just better to go ahead and pop them off with these. So I like to use a smaller pair for the tips and the very small twigs. I just keep these in my pocket and pull them out when I need them. And then I use this big one. They're lopping shears, lop them off. And I like to use these for the bigger branches, and that way then you can get them all off in just like one clip. Okay, so let's go ahead and get this one. And you just hook it right around the bottom, give it a squeeze, and it just comes right off. That makes it so nice if you've got the right pair of shears. This one's going straight up. We're going to take that completely off. This one's going straight up, completely off. Okay, now we've got this one that is a crossover. We don't want the crossover, so we're going to take it off all the way over here. And we're going to take this one right here, okay? And then we are going to take most of this that's coming down into the bottom here, and we're going to take it off right below this node. And now that can grow and make persimmons, and that's what we want. So now you see we've got this one here coming right out in the middle. We don't want that. This old branch was cut off last year. Doesn't need to be there. And so I think you get the idea of what we're going to be doing. And so I'm going to go ahead and do this tree, and then we'll go over to the pear tree, and I'll let you see what I got off of this tree. So this is what I ended up taking off of the tree. This was the big persimmon tree that's 10 years old, and it looks like a whole lot. But now let's look at the tree and see how it looks. So with the root system it has, there's a whole lot less of the tree that it's going to have to feed, and therefore it won't be crowding out all the persimmons that are on there. We'll get bigger persimmons, and it'll just make for a nicer crop. So you can see here that all those tall leaders have been cut off. I see a couple over there that probably could be cut, but I'll probably just leave those since they're at the back of the tree. So now we're back over here at the pear tree, and this tree is about 10 years old, and you can see it's been pruned very well. That base is only about 2.5 feet tall. Look at the base. And there you go. And then you can see all the branches coming out to the side. And that's a good thing. The only problem that does, as I was showing before, is these limbs are so long from the base that what will happen is if you get too much fruit on the end, the weight will break them. And so I have showed you how I have to tie them sometimes to keep them from breaking off because there's so much fruit. So the way to remedy that is to cut off many of these little side branches because they'll all make pairs. Once you get them on there, it's hard to take them off. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and thin some of these right now before they actually start blooming in about a month or two. So that's what we're going to do. And then the other thing we have to do is we have to get these leaders that have grown up. Some of these have grown up, Lord, that one must be 15, 16 feet tall, right out of the middle of the tree. So we're going to take those back to where they were last year, and then we'll leave something on the side, and they can actually make some pairs from the side branches. So I'm going to cut them back to right here where they were last year. And so I'm going to go ahead and get started, and let's see how this comes out. What this will do is this tree will make probably 1,000 flowers, and of course one tree cannot support 1,000 pairs. So I want to cut it down. If we even have 100 pairs, that's probably too many. So I'm going to cut it down and really drastically prune it, and that way then we should end up with some nice flowers, and it'll make bigger pairs because once again the base and the roots only have to support a lot less fruit. So let's give this a try. So these are the center branches that I cut off of this tree, and they're just not needed. They go straight up in the air. You probably won't get any fruit from the straight up in the air branches anyway, but we just don't need the tree any taller because you can't get up there and pick the fruit. The wood is soft. You try to climb the tree, you are going to break it. So anyway, these are the first two branches that I cut. And in the interest of time, I'm not going to show you all the trimming that I do on that, but I do want to show you how I'm going to cut these side branches off on a couple of them, and then I'll finish the project and I will show you what happened. So let's do the side branches. Okay, so right here we have several side branches that we want to trim because it's just way too many. So I'm going to let the ones that are going out sideways stay, and I'm going to take this one right here in the middle, and then I'm going to actually, I think I'll leave that, and then here I'm going to take this branch here, and I will leave a bud right here, and then I'm going to take this, it's already crossed over into that, and it's coming straight out, so we're going to take it. And then this one that's going straight up, we're going to take it. Then we've got more going up. We're going to take those, and we'll leave this. Actually, I don't want this one going over here. We're going to take it off, and we'll just leave this little cluster and whatever forms there. Okay, same thing here. We're going to take this. We are going to take the one going straight back into the tree. We'll leave those coming up. We decided to leave these. We're going to take this one off. And we're going to take this one off. Okay, so that's the idea behind taking a lot of this extra wood off. Now actually I'm going to take this off because we just don't need that many pears on one tree. And so I'm going to go around the whole tree doing this, and then take off the rest of those tall leaders, and I will be back and show you the results. Okay, so now I have mostly finished this job. Here are all the big branches that were going straight up that I took off. And then if we come over here and look at the tree, now you can see where I took off those branches that were going straight up, and there are no more that are higher than I can get to with my step ladder. And then when you look at where I cut off the extras, you can see those also. Now what you have to do is make sure as you're trimming that you leave enough of these buds on, because they won't make new buds before they bloom. So these are actually the buds that are going to make the pears. So when you cut off an end, you want to make sure you've left some buds to bloom. Now what you can do, of course, is come out here as they're blooming and look and see which ones you think are the nicest and the healthiest, and then you can pop off the other blooms, so you still don't get too many, because here's a little spot like this where there are still way too many buds. So you want to come over here and pop some of these off as they bloom, or I'm not 100% sure that I'm through taking off. In other words, something like this needs to be taken off. So that's the theory behind having the pear tree. And here you can see where I've taken off a lot of the end of this one, but I left a nice bud here, I left a nice bud here, I left a couple buds down here. And that's the theory behind it. Now here's some that are going straight down. We want to take those off. So I haven't gone over it the second time, but I'm going to go ahead and end this video here. I just wanted to show everyone the difference in the tree now and what it looked like before. And what that's going to do is all the energy from the tree is going to go into what's left of the tree, and it's going to grow a whole lot bigger pears. It won't grow as many as it would have, but that's not the whole idea here. The idea is to make sure that it can support the pears that it has without falling down. And you can see one spot right here where a big branch broke off a couple years ago, and I've had to trim that back and keep it from growing up, because of course that's the problem you run into when you let it get too big. So with that said, I'm going to end this video. Now my next video is going to be trimming this mess, which is the muscadines. And I've got to come over here and prepare these, because once again, if you let all this come out and bloom, you're going to end up with a tree of muscadine, but they're all going to be about as big as your little fingernail. So you've got to come back and trim these out, and then you'll end up with some very nice muscadine. And this is a project to trim muscadines. I'd much rather trim a tree than muscadine vines, but it has to be done if you're going to grow muscadine. So that'll be my next video, so be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell. And if you like content like this, like the video, and we will see you on the next video.